A very good evening to everyone. So today, the topic of my presentation is facilitating online group work, engaging students in learning activities. So one of the biggest challenges in teaching, as it were, would be to engage students in their learning activities, to get positive student engagement. And in this time of remote learning, it has been even more difficult. So I decided to use a group project to engage my students in this learning activity. And I focused on three main areas of engagement: behavioral engagement, emotional engagement, and cognitive engagement. Behavioral and emotional engagement is quite easy for the students. They are quite invested in those. But when it comes to cognitive engagement, that's where we find that our students don't necessarily exert much meaningful mental effort to understand or master their learning. All right, so this is the task I gave my students. It was design a product using current technology and advertise that product in a way that would attract consumers. So when we're giving students this task, and if you want them to be engaged, there are certain strategies that make it possible, right? For example, this task had to be a meaningful one. So it was meaningful for my group of students because we had done some work on this topics of technology and also online shopping. So they had prior knowledge. So this topic was something that was meaningful to them. And also I was trying to foster a sense of competence, like the students had to feel that this activity was worthy of their time. If you look at instruction number 5, it says, we will carry out follow-up activities using your slides. So I suppose a thing like that would make it meaningful for them, the task meaningful. And the task is meaningful for them, and there's a sense of competency, then the engagement increases, right? And then another strategy, another thing that should be in the forefront of our minds when planning this kind of activities is how much autonomy are we giving the students without losing control over the activity. So if you look at the way I have worded the instructions, say it, decide on a product that you want to design. It's up to them to design. And they were free to allocate tasks to each member of the group, right? So that's another way to enhance engagement. Okay, if you go on to the next slide. Yeah, so these are some of the samples of my students' work, because there were more slides there, each of them. But I was pretty impressed at the effort that had gone into this producing this work. And they had the way they had designed the product and how they advertised it was quite interesting. And that brings me to the next one, mastery orientations. There must be mastery orientations if we want to enhance engagement. It was important for the teacher to recognize their efforts and then to note on improvements, right? And more importantly, students should pursue the activity because they wanted to learn and understand something. That's why this task did not carry any marks or any rewards. It was just the slides will be used to follow up activities, right? So next slide, please. Collaboration. We know the importance of collaboration. When there's collaboration, definitely there is more engagement. So students, of course, they enjoy working with one another. And especially in this time of remote learning, I believe this task gave them an opportunity to engage with one another, collaborate, and therefore increased engagement. Right, and also talking about collaboration, if you want your students to be engaged, the teacher should also be trying to establish a positive relationship with students. Like you get to know about their social economic needs, displaying positive attitudes and enthusiasm. When they do well, you praise them and show that you care, right? Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So when I was going through the slides, I realized my students had done a lot of research from the technological terms they use, like holographic screens, ultrasonic sensor. I know that they have done their job. And then there's also one bibliography. You see there? That means the students, I don't know who taught them bibliography. I just have to assume that they had spoken to their siblings who are in college or whatever. So they'd even given me their references, bibliography. Yeah, there was bibliography. So I know there was cognitive engagement here, because that is the one that is most difficult to get, cognitive engagement. And very clearly, this task had gotten this from them. And finally, what did I do with all these slides to give it meaning? To give it meaning, the tasks were used for product review, reading comprehension, information transfer, etc. And also allowed during this task for my students to self-evaluate using Google Forms, where they could see the summary charts and text responses, and also peer evaluation when they reviewed each other's product design. They gave feedback, right?
I'm going to interrupt you. You'll need to wrap it up. That's your 5 minutes.
Done anyway. All right.
Okay. And any final words?
Sorry?
Any final words?
Final words? No.
Are you glad that you took this approach with your students?
Yes. I was not sure that it would work, but when the slides came back, yeah, I was really impressed, surprised.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm just going to show this last slide, because I think it fits in with a lot of what I've been hearing about, about what makes good teaching and learning. And in the classroom, you need clear instructions, you need criteria for success, you need learning objectives, you need a meaningful task. And what you've got is all of that in an online task. So do you think that you'll carry on designing your tasks like this when you go back to the classroom?
Yeah, this has taught me something about the needs of my students, that they need more autonomy. I think maybe in the past, if I were very controlling, I was telling them what to do, maybe a more autonomy, and that would get me better engagement. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. And I think that's a great thing for us to realize, that actually our students are far more capable than we give them credit for. And I think that's quite a powerful sentiment. And I mean, this whole idea has come through in so many of the presentations today, right the way from Molly talking about doing the Socrates and the quizzes and using the feedback, Ranjini talking about online quizzes. We've had Miss Ash talking about project-based learning for primary. This is project-based learning for secondary. It seems like there's a theme of voice and choice and ownership that is running through all of this. And I think that's really, really encouraging to see. And I reflect a little bit on what we know to be good practice in teaching and learning. We know that feedback and assessment is vital for learning. And now what I've seen today is teachers who are saying, yeah, feedback and assessment is important, and this is how you can do it online, and this is how to make it work. So how to use the features. So it's about technology working to make good teaching and learning happen in our classrooms. So I think that's a really, really powerful message.